Apparently doing these once per quarter was enough. You guys want me to go monthly with it. So, hey, you guys ask and I'm going to deliver. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR video, the first for 2023. It's going to be just a little bit different than usual. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know I usually stick these to once per quarter, fall, spring, winter, that kind of thing. And I got a lot of feedback from people asking me to stop doing that. They wanted me to start doing it monthly and talk a little bit more about each book, about what they're about, that kind of thing. Now, I will say that, obviously if I haven't read them, usually I can't tell you exactly what they're about, but if you guys want to give me a little bit more, I want to give you a little bit more synopsis about what they're about, well then, hey, I think I can do that for you. But before I begin, I got to talk about some of those changes to the December TBR. There were a couple of changes that I have made recently, and in case you haven't been following the channel on the daily, it is the holidays, and not everybody gets to do that. There are a couple of things that have changed, and it kind of affects what's going to be happening in January. I have continued the Legend of Driss series by R.A. Salvatore, continuing with that world. I am going to be finishing up the Icewind Dale trilogy in December. That way I can kind of start fresh next year. I did talk about that on a series that I wanted to start in, or new series I want to start in 2023, and I did talk about the legacy of the Drow. So I want to make sure I wrapped up Icewind Dale. I started reading Percy Jackson with my 10-year-old son. I think that's a fun thing for us to do together. And hey guys, thanks for the recommendation. He is loving it. He's already crazy about Greek mythology, so this series was just perfect timing at his age. He is loving it, and we're going to continue working through that at whatever pace works for us. We're almost done with Lightning Thief already. And then I'll be picking up a novella to kind of close out the year. This is going to be The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. I think that's something that was, a lot of people said, hey, read it at the end. Other people said, hey, read it between Live Ship and the Fits and the Fool trilogy. And I think that it'll give a lot more depth to what's going on there. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. That way I can have a full calendar year of at least one Robin Hobb book per month, because I do plan to finish that series, if I go by the schedule I have set right now, in October. And I started Live Ship in November. So it'll be 12 consecutive months of Robin Hobb content in my life. Another thing is, there's a change up to these, is that I'm going to be listing these off in the order that I plan to read them in the month. So I guess that helps people if they want to kind of read along with me, or if they're planning to join me, or they want to talk about it on the Discord, any of those things. That's all the changes. Now, with that out of the way, we can actually start the video proper here, starting with January of 2023. The first book I'm going to be picking up is going to begin our reread, as I am calling it. That is our Red Rising reread. There is a new Red Rising book coming out in July, so we will be doing a reread, or as reread, as I keep calling it, because I'm so clever, you guys. I thought that, hey, this will be a perfect time to try to reread some of this stuff, remember some of these characters, remember some of these events, because it has been a couple of years now since Dark Age came out, and I thought this is a great opportunity to try to get more people interested in giving this series a try. So if you want to join me, jump on the Discord, because we'll be starting with the original book, Red Rising, here in January. January 1st is when I plan to start it, and I can't wait to revisit this, because guys, when I read the original Red Rising trilogy, I read it so fast, I feel like I've forgotten more than I remembered. I just remember how much I loved it. I remember which characters I loved. And that first book didn't really land with me the first time, because I thought I might have gotten sold a bill of goods on something. And I'll explain why when I do my reviews for these videos, because I did do the reviews of the first three, but guys, that was back before I had any review format in the challenge. I would literally just turn the camera on and see where the conversation went. I have a little bit more structure now, so I want to kind of give those the new kind of treatment that I think that they deserve. And that was kind of the whole basis for this, is just getting more people to read it as the series is coming to a close. But as for Red Rising, the book, number one, what is it about? Well, now, Darrow is a Red, a member of the lowest caste in the color-coded society of the future. Like his fellow Reds, he works all day, believing that he and his people are making the surface of Mars livable for future generations. Yet he spends his life willingly, knowing that his blood and sweat will one day result in a better world for his children. But Darrow and his kind have been betrayed. Soon he discovers that humanity already reached the surface generations ago. Vast cities and sprawling parks spread across the planet. Darrow, and the Reds like him, are nothing more than slaves to a decadent ruling class, the Golds. Inspired for a longing for justice and driven by the memory of his lost love, Darrow sacrifices everything to infiltrate the legendary Institute, a proving ground for the dominant Gold caste, where the next generation of humanity's overlords struggle for power. He will be forced to compete for his life and for the very future of civilization against the best and most brutal of society's ruling class. There he will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if it means he has to become one of them to do so. So I hope that's a good sales pitch for you guys to jump on board with us for this read along, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun revisiting that series, and I cannot wait. One of my favorite, probably my favorite ongoing science fiction series right now. And yeah, it's one that I just can't wait to talk about more because, like I said, in the end, I just want to get more eyes on that series that I do love. After that, I'll be going back to the realm of the Eldlings. I already talked about Robin Hobb a little bit, but I did do the entire Live Ship trilogy in November, and honestly, I'm itching to get back to it. Now, I'm not going to be doing any more trilogies per month, but I'm going to be doing one per month. Philip over at Philip Chase, Dr. Philip Chase, he's going to be joining me on this because he and I have only read through Live Ship, and we're going to be part of that panel of the Eldlings, that I call it, and we'll be talking about those series individually as we go along. But he and I will be reading these books together. So if any one of you guys want to join us, we're going to be doing one per month. But January, it's going to be Fool's Errand, book number 1. I've only read, like I said, Farseer with Fitz, so it'd be interesting for me to get back to the series and see how things are going. So I'm going to read the synopsis off the back cover of the book here, but I want to warn you guys, if you haven't read Farseer, you might consider this spoilerish. I'm not really sure. I'm going to have the timestamps below if you want to go ahead and skip to the next section, but I am going to read the synopsis off the back cover here. I don't think it's going to spoil anything for you out of context if you haven't read anything, but just in case, I like to give you guys those warnings first. Now, 15 years have passed since the end of the Red Ship War with the terrifying Out Islanders. Since then, Fitz has wandered the world accompanied only by his wolf and whip partner, Night Eyes, finally settling in a tiny college as remote from Buckkeep and the Farseers as possible. But lately, the world has come crashing in again. The Witted are becoming persecuted because of their magical bonds with animals, and the young Prince Dutiful has gone missing just before his crucial diplomatic wedding to an Out Islander princess. Fitz's assignment to fetch Dutiful back in time for the ceremony seems very much like a fool's errand, but the dangers ahead could signal the end of the Farseer reign. Guys, I am very excited to get back to that world because I am enjoying everything about that. Like I said, I did have that problem with how Farseer trilogy concluded, but I think that Live Ship has kind of righted that ship for me, and I'm ready to get back into it because I am very anxious to see how some of those characters from the Farseer trilogy are faring. Now that I know that it's 15 years later, seeing how they are faring. So next up, guys, I did a video recently talking about some standalones that I plan to do between epic fantasy series. Now, obviously, Robin Hobb book, none of those are short. So I would consider that one of those big, thick, epic fantasy reads that you might need a nice little standalone or a palate cleanser in between. And I'm going to start off the year with Run by Blake Crouch. You guys know I have really fell down that rabbit hole of Blake Crouch. I started with Dark Matter, did Recursion, then I started going backwards. I did Wayward Pines, I've done Abandon. I did do his new one, Upgrade, but I'm kind of working my way backwards now through his catalog. And next up for me is Run, and this one sounds like quite the thriller, and I'm excited to read it after reading the synopsis now. What is that synopsis? Let's see here. It says, 5 days ago, a rash of bizarre murders swept the country. Senseless, brutal, and seemingly unconnected. A cop walked into a nursing home and unloaded his weapons on elderly and staff alike. A mass of school shootings, prison riots, and unprecedented brutality. Mind-boggling acts of violence in every state. 4 days ago, the murders increased tenfold. 3 days ago, the president addressed the nation and begged for calm and peace. 2 days ago, the killers began to mobilize. Yesterday, all of the power in the country went out. And tonight, they're reading the names of those to be killed over the emergency broadcast system. You are listening over the battery-powered radio in your kitchen table, and they've just read your name. Your name is Jack Kolkoff. You have a wife, a daughter, and a young son. You live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and people are coming to your house to kill you and your family. You don't know why, but you don't have time to think about that anymore. You only have time to run. And guys, that sounds awesome. It kind of sounds like The Purge, but written by a really gifted writer like Blake Crouch. I'm sure it'll have just a little bit more weight to it than, somewhat of a, let's be honest, kind of a B movie would kind of dictate. If you like the Purge series, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of fun with that series, but this does sound like it'll probably have just a little bit more weight behind it, and I'm excited to continue reading more Blake Crouch because I've liked just about everything that I've read so far. So after that, guys, I'll be back to fantasy, but this time it'll be kind of fantasy in a historical fiction kind of way and dealing with the Arthurian legend, something that I'm absolutely nutty about. Did read the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell last year, and I really liked that a lot. And my guy Patrick hit me up and he said, if you like that, I really think that you should check out The Arthurian Tales by Giles Christian, because I think that they are even better. Now, I read Giles Christian, his novella Hellmouth last year, and I loved it. Thought it was spectacular. In fact, I wanted it to be a full novel. It was so good. So I said, yeah, sure, okay. I'll definitely pick up that. So I'm going to be starting with Lancelot, and I'll be continuing with that read-along that's going on in the Discord, starting in January with Lancelot. And if you guys, again, you want to join that read-along, that one's not mine, that's someone else's. And they're probably starting at the beginning of January, but if you want to jump on there, you can do so and talk in a discussion with all those wonderful people. But what is Lancelot about? It's about the legions of Rome are a fading memory. Enemies stalk the fringes of Britain, and Uther Pendragon is dying. Into this fraction uncertain world, the boy is cast, a refugee from fire, murder, and betrayal, an outsider whose only companions are a hateful hawk and memories of the lost. Yet he is gifted, and under the watchful eyes of Merlin and the Lady Nimue, he will hone his talents and begin his journey to manhood. He will meet Guinevere, a wild, proud, and beautiful girl, herself outcast because of her gift, and he will be dazzled by Arthur, a warrior who carries the hopes of a people like fire in the dark. But these are times of struggle and blood, when even friendship and love seem doomed to fail. The gods are vanishing beyond the reach of dreams, and treachery and jealousy rule men's hearts, and the fate of Britain itself rests on a sword's edge. With just a hummingbird and dreams of revenge is now a lord of war. He is a man loved and hated, admired and feared, a man forsaken but not forgotten. He is Lancelot, guys. I can't wait to get to that one, because Bernard Cornwell kind of did Lancelot dirty in his series, so it'll be kind of refreshing to see maybe a different take on Lancelot with this one. But yeah, I love the Arthurian legend. It can be retold a million ways, so I'm always going to be willing to give something like that a chance. And plus, Giles Christian, really awesome guy. He talks on social media. If you are actually interested in talking, he will talk back to you. And again, like I said, I really liked Hellmouth, so I'm interested to see what he can do in just a straight-up Arthurian tale, because that's always something I'm going to give a try. Now, last up, guys, I am going to be continuing with Into the Multiverse this year, and of course that leads me, because I got to do part 4 of my Ranking Stephen King series, and I've got to do a lot of rereads before I can do that, and I know a lot of people are going to be quite upset if I am going to probably take as long as I did to get between 2 and 3. Will probably be the same for this one, because I got to do a lot of rereads, but I plan to do about 1 per month, and that's going to be picking back up with The Regulators by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. And with this one, I say it's always kind of a twinner novel with Desperation, and I keep on saying that in my memory I liked one of these more than the other, and I just reread Desperation and I was kind of mixed to positive on it, so I'm hoping that Regulators was the one that I liked more. But what is the Regulators? What is the Regulators about, you might ask? Well, let's mount up and see about the synopsis here. The peaceful suburban life on Poplar Street in Wentworth, Ohio is shattered one fine day when 4 vans containing shotgun-wielding regulators terrorize the street's residents, cold-bloodedly killing anyone foolish enough to venture outdoors. Houses mysteriously transform into log cabins, and the street now ends in what looks like a child's hand-drawn western landscape. While the neighborhood's panicked civilians run for shelter, author Johnny Marinville attempts to contact the police. However, an otherworldly force prevents the call from going through. Masterminding this sudden onslaught is the evil creature Tack, who has taken over the body of an autistic boy whose parents were killed in a drive-by shooting several months earlier. And guys, I have no memory of this book, like whatsoever, because that sounds absolutely crazy. So I'm really excited to revisit that, because I talked about that 90s period of Stephen King almost seems kind of underrated, but obviously, since I had like no real memory of Desperation or Regulators, it'd almost be like reading it for the first time for me again. So I think that this just became the point where I was reading Stephen King so fast, and also I had a lot of other things going on in high school at the time that was just like, a lot of extracurricular stuff. I don't want to go glory days on you here or anything, but I had a lot going on. I thought I had a lot going on now, but man, when you're a teenager and you're doing all this extra... Anyhow, so... take that for what you will. It was extracurricular stuff in school, not the extracurricular stuff you're thinking about. Again, guys, I was a nerd. I was a reader. I wasn't doing those kinds of things. Anyhow, I'm excited to get back to that. But that's what I have on the docket for now. I do have some things for if I have time. Now, I'm going to only plan to do like 4 or 5 books per month right now, because real life can tend to get a little crazy, as you all know. So I never want to kind of overstretch myself. I want to kind of be like, hey, I can do these, and if I have some extra time, cool, I can do some fill-ins. Well, my fill-in plans this year, if I don't have a standalone or a palette cleanser already planned that month, is just to continue with the Legend of Driss series by R.A. Salvatore. I'm really, really enjoying that world, and I'll be continuing with the next arc in that series, which is going to be the Legacy of the Drow, and book number 7 is called just The Legacy. I think this has to deal with Driss going back to the Underdark, Menzoberranzan, and kind of tying up some loose ends, because there are some things that you learned about in the Dark Elf trilogy that kind of were left open. So I think that that's kind of one of those kind of things where like that past is always going to haunt him a little bit, and he's going to have to go back and take care of some business. And I'm judging that all off of the cover of book number 7. So we shall see. I can't wait to see this little fight that looks like it's going on between him and a certain Spider Queen. Very, very exciting stuff. I'm loving Legend of Driss, guys. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm almost done with The Lightning Thief with my kid. That's Percy Jackson, book number 1. I think we're just doing like a couple chapters a night, but we're already like 60% through that book because those books aren't long, guys. You can kind of burn through them really, really quick. And I think that he's liking enough. We're going to continue. So I don't know where we'll be over the holiday. We might read a little more. We might read a little less. You never know with these kind of things. But I imagine we'll probably be on book 3 or 4 by the time January rolls around. But I imagine we'll probably be finishing up, Percy Jackson and the Olympians January, February at the latest. Because we were doing the Harry Potter, and it was taking a long time because those books are significantly longer than the Percy Jackson book. So we'll do those 5 and see how it goes. And if he wants to keep going with Rick Riordan's series, then we'll continue going with it. But right now, we've only commit to doing the 5 main books, and he's having a blast with it. And I'm very, very excited to kind of join those core memories with him because, like I said, I think Harry Potter was great, but I think you get to a point at his age, when I was reading to, he was only 8. You get to like those later books of the series, he doesn't care about teen angst. He doesn't care about testing for owls and things like that. It kind of lost him a little bit there towards the end. Whereas I think this, with Percy being about the same age as him, being dyslexic like him, I think those are things that he's really, really gravitating towards. And I just think this was perfect timing. He's obsessed with Greek mythology right now because he did a report in high school. He did a report in elementary school, and then he played that Phoenix Rising game on Game Pass, and he's just absolutely just a sponge for Greek mythology right now. So just perfect timing. So again, thank you guys who recommended that series because it could not have been a better thing to do for us right now. But guys, that is January of 2023. I'd be interested in seeing what do you guys got planned for January 2023? Are you planning to read any of these? Are you going to join the Red Rising Reread? We'd love to have you. I think that people doing the Giles Christian Arthurian Tales would love to have you. Join the Discord if you haven't yet and join us there. But yeah, drop in the bottom the comments down there and let me know, hey, what are you going to be reading in January of 2023? Do you like to plan ahead like this, or do you think I'm psychotic? Hey, at least now I'm only doing it 1 month at a time. Actually, no, I've done the whole year. But what I'm revealing is just going to be 1 month at a time. So do you like this new format? Let me know. I appreciate the feedback. I'm not going to take any of it personally. If you want me to go back to the old format, let me know. Right now, the plan is we're going to do January, February, March. See how it goes. And if you guys like the old format, I'll go back to that. If you like this new format with me telling you a little bit more about the book, I would gladly continue. So I like to listen to you guys, and that's something that will not change in 2023. So drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you there.